Good afternoon. Thank you for being here today. I am State Senator Elena Parent, and along with my colleagues, Representatives Renita Shannon, Mary Margaret Oliver, Carla Drenner, and Howard Mosby, I am pleased to announce our intention to pre-file legislation in both the House of Representatives and the Senate to restore the power to make decisions regarding Confederate monuments to the place that it belongs, to the local communities where these monuments exist. We are also joined today at the podium by Mayor Patty Garrett of Decatur and Commissioner Tony Powers of Decatur. Since 2001, a state law has existed that ties the hands of local governments and communities by forbidding them from taking action to remove, conceal, obscure, or relocate all war or military memorials, including those dedicated to the Confederate States of America. In the wake of the deadly white nationalist rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, many communities have paused to consider what statues, memorials, and other symbols are given honored status in their public spaces. The reality is that different communities have different opinions on what is appropriate and desired to display in a place of honor in their towns. In the case of DeKalb County and Decatur, Georgia, which we represent, there is a 30-foot Confederate lost cause obelisk that was erected in 1908 behind the courthouse, the historic courthouse, decades after the end of the Civil War. In fact, it was erected during the Jim Crow era, when rights were shamelessly and systematically denied to African Americans. It certainly is no accident that it is placed in front of the courthouse in the very center of the public space. Our constituents, and those here who I've also mentioned that are elected to represent these communities, including the Decatur City Commission, the DeKalb County Commission, and also the Stonecrest City Council, have called for that state law to be changed so that a community conversation can ensue about whether it is appropriate to keep, relocate, change, explain the Confederate obelisk and other monuments. We seek to allow our constituents to have these conversations and to have self-determination for their public spaces. The City Council of Kennesaw, Georgia, has also called for action to have this power as well. Let's let each community have that debate. Some may choose to keep Confederate memorials. Some may choose to add to them with other memorials or explanatory plaques highlighting the injustice perpetrated upon fellow Americans. Some may wish to replace them with something else that they feel is more representative of their present community. But in all cases, why should the state of Georgia refuse to allow local communities to decide what honored images they see every day? Why should someone from Valdosta or Rome decide what Decatur, DeKalb, and Stonecrest residents see when they drive to work or go out for ice cream? And indeed, why should those of us who are up here who represent DeKalb and may make infrequent trips to every community throughout the state decide what they have in the middle of their town squares? Further, it stands to reason that if local communities at one point decided to erect certain monuments, they should be able to change them later if they so desire to do. There is really no good reason to force a community to keep a statue or memorial in perpetuity. So we welcome the debate that we will be having this session. We think fair minds can agree that these decisions are best to have made at the local level. We're pleased to have the support of our constituents and the City Commission, the DeKalb Commission, the Kennesaw Council, the Georgia Municipal Association, and the Association of County Commissioners of Georgia. And I would like to also welcome my colleagues to provide additional comments.
Thank you. Good afternoon. This bill is about local control. The Republican leadership talks about local control, and the City of Decatur and DeKalb County has taken specific action to request that they have local control over the issues of Southern monuments. My law office on the square of Decatur for the last several decades is 50 yards away from the obelisk. And I have been in, I think I've done a very specific count, every courthouse north of I-20 in my long legal career. I walk by those monuments unconcerned and mindless of what they may represent to others. For me, I'm on the way to the courthouse to do business, thinking about my client, thinking about what my task of the day is. But I'm not an African American that has a different life and a different life experience in relation to Confederate monuments. In this time, it's my goal in introducing LC 288542, which I've shared with you and will pre-file on November 15th with my colleagues. It's my goal to have an honest discussion about history, to have an inclusive, specifically designed discussion to include the good and the bad of these monuments, and to give an opportunity in the General Assembly for the Republican leadership and the Democratic leadership to come together in a bipartisan way to hold up the flag of local control for our cities and counties. Thank you.
I certainly want to thank our state senator and our state representatives for bringing this forward. The monument that is right next to the Decatur Square, to the best of our knowledge, it actually belongs to DeKalb County, but it is very visible from our most public places in the city of Decatur. And we've had a number of people come to us and ask us what we could do to move it to a more appropriate place. And we, even though it does not belong to the city of Decatur, we have had a number of discussions with DeKalb County, and they have passed a resolution looking to find a way to move it to a more suitable location, and we would support them in those efforts. And we think that this is something that should be part of local control, because as those who have spoken before me indicated, there may be differences, there are differences of opinion, and what may be desired in one community may not be desired in another. And I think there are many in our community for whom this represents oppression, for whom it represents a time when they were not welcome in the city and in DeKalb County. So we support the efforts of making this a local decision rather than one dictated by the state of Georgia.